Good morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m., July 28th. Hope everybody had a good trading week last week. I was on vacation from Wednesday through Sunday. Just got back yesterday. Had a good time. Back to markets. I saw a couple days that went kind of up. A day that consolidated went up, consolidated went up. Then another day that was like barcodey, and then it looked like Friday. You kind of just went up, and now we gapped up today on the Sunday open in futures because of the EU trade deal. Pretty much gave back all those gains. Find them support at last week's highs, pretty much Friday's highs. Let's see what happens today. I mean, typical summer trading, typical July, seasonally bullish. Usually 80% of the time, July is bullish. That's staying true for this month. Now, this week we have some big earnings coming up. We'll get into that in a little bit. Actually, volume was pretty good, pretty decent earlier. Probably with that giving back some of those gains a little bit ago. All right. Now, I'm just trying to see what we have on top this week. Big earnings. Let's see, core PCE. Ooh, non-farm payrolls. All right, we got a lot of stuff to talk about as far as data. Oh, we have FOMC too this week. Wow, this is a big week. Okay. Well, without further ado, why don't we just get into it? Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, CAM exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. Also using Anchor VWAPs and my trusty internals and my new tool, the weekly expected move. In the weekly expected move, after I analyzed a lot of the stocks that I shared that indicator last week, come to play again. I don't believe one stock closed outside of that expected range. A lot of them tested it, but that's where they found resistance. Interestingly enough, for the second week in a row. We'll go over that in a second, and I'll share. I ran my script this morning, so I have a new script to share. Our new indicator to share for your Thinkorswim. All right, and hopefully every day you guys join me. You sign up, subscribe. As I do this every morning, give you the news, basically the market story, and a bunch of TA, technical analysis to follow. Right? Give you long and short trade scenarios. We'll go over obviously the market internals recap, and we'll go over a bunch of other stuff. Right? Got a lot to cover today. All right, just getting back into the groove here after vacation. All right, so if you want to join me later on, all right, please join my Discord, Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. And you will see me live. All right, and let me be your indicator. Let me be your indicator. That's what I've been saying. And so you'll see if you join me live, I'll give live commentary. Exactly what I said. Let me be your indicator. Don't have to trade like I do, but I will never steer you wrong how I read the market. Okay. Now, why don't we get right into futures? See what's moving in markets here on this Monday morning. Ethereum leading the pack. I believe somebody, I think it was one of the Donald Trump's sons, said that Ethereum should be skyrocketing or something like that. Well, Ethereum's up 6.51% today. VIX is up 1.88. Crude is up 1.80. Bitcoin's up 1.76, almost at 120. 10-year yield is up. Dollar is up 0.57. Good morning, Chief. The Russell's up 0.34. The Nasdaq's up 0.29. The ES is up 0.15. The Dow is flat. Gold is flat. Silver is down 0.26. 30-year bonds being sold down slightly, down 0.28. Mag 7 Plus, let's look at those. AMD. I'm loving AMD. It's one of my larger holdings. I'm loving it. All right. So that's up 1.83. That's one of the stocks that hit its weekly expected move last week. Okay. Who else? Tesla is up 1.31%. Coinbase, Bitcoin proxy up 0.95. Amazon reports earnings this week up 0.72. GE up 0.68. Nvidia's up 0.61. Broadcom's up 0.60. Google's up 0.37. All right. Meta's up. All right. Any laggards? No. Nope, nope, nope. JP Morgan is flat. Eli Lilly had a decent week last week. It also hit its weekly expected move. Like I said, we'll go over that in a second. All right, let's look at any top sector stocks that are any importance here. United Healthcare reports earnings this week. They're showing they're up 0.97. Still got a probe going on to them about some fraudulent stuff. PepsiCo down 0.21. That's the laggard. And the little granular list here. Hess just continues. Jesus. That is up 7.58%. Nike up 4.14%. ASML up 3.73%. Mara Mining up 2.90%. MicroStrategy's up 2.74%. Viking Therapeutics up 2.56%. We'll stop with the 2%ers. Tilray, the wheat stock, up 2.43%. All right, let's look at those laggards. We got Gilead. Gilead down 2.28%. Taiwan Semiconductor is interesting, down 1.32%. And Cisco down 1.16. That's your laggards today in that little granular list. We're moving on now. We're moving on to sectors. That's the bread and butter here. And here you go. Semiconductors leading the pack, up 0.70%, followed by energy, up 0.51%, followed by technology, up 0.33%, followed by discretionary, then industrials. And the laggard is your staples. But it's not much of a laggard. They're barely down. Okay, so that's what's going on there. We're going to move on to the economic calendar because there's a lot of stuff on tap for this week. All right, lots of stuff on tap for this week. We have today Dallas Fed manufacturing is 10:30. Tuesday. What do we have? JOLTS jobs, consumer confidence. Okay, Wednesday. 30-year mortgage, we have GDP, pending home sales, crude inventories, and then you have FOMC on Wednesday. FOMC. Thursday, core PCE. This is such a big data week. Wow. Core PCE. Okay. Chicago PMI on Thursday. Friday, non-farm payrolls, unemployment, ISM manufacturing, PMI, ISM, Michigan Consumer Center. This is a monster data week, right? Adding on top of that, we have earnings this week, right? Important earnings. This morning, who did we have, if anybody to note? Let's see. Not really. After the close today, Waste Management, Tilray, Whirlpool. Before the open on Tuesday, United Health Group, SoFi, PayPal, Boeing, UPS, Spotify, Merck, Procter & Gamble. Wow. Wow. And then tomorrow, after the close, Visa, Marathon, Starbucks, Seagate, Booking Holdings, Cheesecake Factory, Caesars. Okay. Then the big boys, we got Meta, Microsoft, Robinhood, Carvana, Qualcomm, Ford on Wednesday. And then Thursday, after the close, Amazon, MicroStrategy, Apple, Coinbase, Cloudflare, Roku, and then you have Exxon, Chevron on Friday. Big earnings week. Okay. Moving back to some news here. We're going to look at some stock news here. Amazon stock rose 0.7 after Jefferies stated that the impact of sweeping U.S. tariffs on the e-commerce giant appeared to be overstated. Apple stock rose 0.3 after Bank of America said the iPhone maker faces a tough setup heading into its fiscal third quarter results this Thursday. Tesla stock rose 1.6 after the electric vehicle maker signed a $16.5 billion deal to source chips from Samsung. All right, let's see here. Nike stock rose 4.1 after JP Morgan upgraded its stance on the footwear giant to overweight from neutral. Charter Communications rose 0.1 after Bernstein upgraded its stance on the telecommunications company to outperform. All right, there's that news. Let's go over to some more news here. U.S. and EU avert trade war with a 15% tariff deal. Fed expect to keep rates unchanged. Musk says Tesla, Samsung signed $6.5 billion chip supply deal. There we go. Boeing contract offer rejected by union members. Interesting. U.S. LNG producers soar as EU agrees to 250 billion in annual purchases. Anything else here? Let's see. McDonald's fast food company is planning to sell 8 prime retail properties in Hong Kong. All right. Interesting. Meta. Geez, Meta. The social media giant has appointed, I'm not going to, Shangzi Zhao, co-creator of ChatGPT, as chief scientist of its superintelligence. They keep getting people. Wow. Um, okay, Paramount Global, company said on Friday, expects to complete its merger with Skydance Media by August 7th. All right. Coinbase. JP Morgan raises target price to 404 from 215. All right. It's the juice. All right, what do we got here? It says Trump, I'm very disappointed in Russia President Putin. I'm reducing the 50 days I gave him. Okay, maybe that made oil go up. Let's see here. U.S. futures climbed along with dollar after the European Union reached a trade deal. We already know this. It says Donald Trump. Let's see. In signs mounted that the U.S. and China will extend their truce. The euro fell. All right, Trump. Okay, we know that. All right, let's see. Let's see what we have today. OPEC, Trump, and UK. PM Starmer meet tentative. That's a 7:50, which is already passed. 8 o'clock. Relentless bull market. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. All right, that's what we got there. We're gonna look at upgrades here. Let's get in here. Upgrades, Nike, we already talked about. Texas Instruments, okay. Downgrades, let's see if there's any downgrades to speak of. Halliburton, okay, that's about it. All right, moving on. Moving on. All right, you know what? Let's go real check into breadth charts real quick. That's my how much percent of the S&P 500 are over their 20-day simple moving average. Let's check that out. We rose up. Look at that. We went all the way down to 40s. Back to 69% of the stocks in the S&P 500 over the 20-day simple moving average. All right, I think we're done there. Alrighty, moving on. Let's get into the daily charts. Move over to those dailies, then we'll get into the expected moves. Okay. Boop boop. Well, we can get into a little bit of the expected moves here in the daily charts. Just amazing how this indicator's working so far. Very happy with the results of the indicator. Look at that. Expected move is 637. 637.90 went to 637.58. That's what the expected move told you if you added that indicator on your chart. Okay? Beautiful. Right there's the green line. That's Friday's close. Right? We went right up to it by what? 40 cents? 40 cents? Nice. Right? Remember, I have the new one I'm going to give you today. Okay? Ran it this morning. All right. So, you're going to see very large expected ranges for Amazon, Meta, Apple. You'll see it with the expected move because of earnings. Okay? Now, let's look at the daily chart. All right, we made all-time highs on Friday. Okay, so like look at last week, just up, right? Up. All right, made new weekly ranges. Look, that was the previous week's highs, and you just go up, straight up summer, melt up, right? Now, where are we at now? 638.29. 638.29. We're not even in this range here. 638.29. We're up here. So we're gapping up. Okay, gapping up. Like I said, we gave back a lot of the gains from the Sunday night gap open. Okay, at 6 p.m. Gave back. We're going to look at those in futures. Gives us just a better view. Okay. There you go. We opened here in futures. Okay. Opened here. Went all the way up to here. And now we're here. Okay, look, that's last week's highs. We're holding last week's range. So, pretty much Status quo, we're moving higher. Okay, moving on to the Qs. Now let's look at the Qs expected move. Didn't really reach it. Now, as far as I'm looking at, tech was relatively weak last week. Tech was relatively weak, right? Notice a big difference. Look at the range of the previous week. You just really closed outside of it, and the SPY really made new ranges. So that just shows me tech has been rotated out of a little bit, and some of these other sectors have been getting money put into them. Okay, so that's relatively weak. So looks like you still made a new all-time high, right? But you can see the chart; it's just sideways, sideways, up, up, right? When you see the SPY, it's just like, oof, made a better move, right? Let's look at futures. Oh, well, let's see where we are. 560, 860. We are gapping up to there because of this EU trade deal. All right, let's look at futures. Let's look at futures. Futures, let's see here. Futures, you're holding last week's highs, but you got a kind of a doji candle. Okay, like I said, gave back most of the gains. Gave back most of the gains. All right, let's go to the triple-headed monster. Let's go to that triple-headed monster. It's your bond market, which is probably doing nothing because that's what it likes to do. Look at this crap. Just doesn't know what to do. The bond market doesn't know what to do. Moving on to the dollar. Did the dollar bust out like I thought? Well, it did, and it pulled back. Maybe this is the next move. I don't know. Okay, about to hit the 50-day moving average. All right, let's just see what happens there. The VIX, the good old VIX. All right, the good old VIX. That good old VIX is at a 15. A 15. That is not the best for ranges, right? You really getting the volatility pushing lower. Look at that. Boom, just push lower. That is, with summer trading volumes, ugh, not the best. Not the best. Okay? All right. I think we're ready for those expected moves. Okay, we already covered the SPY and the QQQ. I'm going to change the chart here to, let's see, this chart. Let's go to this chart. And we'll check out those expected moves. Okay. This is Boeing. Boeing stayed within the range. Let's look at AMD. Look at that. AMD hit that expected move on Friday. Tesla had earnings, right? Stayed within the range. Coinbase stayed within the range, almost hitting the lower part, right? Amazon hit the top of the range. Look at that. Wicked right that day on Thursday, and that was it. Could not close outside the range, right? You knew if you were long Amazon here that you're probably not going to get much more from that, and that would have told you that, right? GE, almost to the highs of the expected move. Broadcom kind of stayed within range. Okay, Nvidia almost hit the lower. What was that? Tuesday, I believe. Right there. That was the day. I believe that was Tuesday. 7/22. Yeah, it's Tuesday. That almost hit the lower end of the expected move, right? So that could have made you go, all right, well, I don't think it has much downside, right? And then it pushed higher. Google had earnings, right? Stayed within its expected move. Meta stayed within its expected move. Boeing stayed within the expected move. Berkshire Hathaway, I don't have that on there right now. Apple stayed within its expected move. Microsoft almost hit the lower end early on, right here. Netflix did hit the lower expected move. Right here, look, wicked right to it and couldn't close below it. Right? Can this get a pullback? Look at the key level written Netflix here. Look at that support. It was resistance. It was support. It was support. That's a big level. That 1180. That is also the previous month's lows. That is looking mighty fine right there for something to happen. Does this finally? It's a nice decline. Pick up. I don't know. Right? We'll have to look at the expected move when I put it on. Okay. Okay. Eli Lilly. Check it out, folks. Check it out. Wicked right. Couldn't close outside of that expected move on Friday. The week before, it hit its expected move to the downside. Eli Lilly. Okay, Eli Lilly. JP Morgan hit its expected move to the upside last week. Look at that. Boom. Right there. Resistance. Close inside the range. Very powerful. Very, very, very powerful. All right. I'm going to update now the expected move, and I'm going to share it with you guys. Okay. Now, I'm not going to update it myself. I could do that later. I'm just going to share it. All right. So I'm going to put it in the chat. I will update the channel with the indicator. Okay. I will also put it in my Discord. So give me a second here. I will share it right now. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. And I will share this with you guys. Here we go. There it is. Feel free to throw that on your Thinkorswim. That will give you the expected move for this Friday. All right. And whoever installed that last week, you could see the power. Okay. You can see it. All right. So we're going to move on. All right. We're going to move on. I think I'm going to skip the internals. There's not much to delve into the hourly chart either that I can't delve into. So I'm going to skip that for today. I don't think there's much to glean from that. We can see anything like that in the market profile. Okay? In the market profile. So we're going to move on. We'll get right into it. And this is your market profile and your volume profile. Okay, let's get into it. And first thing we're going to do, we're going to look at that profile for the week, for the rolling week. So you got downside here, you got value area, and you got the gap up from Sunday night. So first thing I would notice here, since I didn't trade last week, but right off the bat, you have this like weakish, poorish high here on Friday. It looks like it tried to make it move higher, just couldn't. Right? Longs at poor location. That generally gets corrected, and you don't really count this in market profile as corrected because it's the overnight session. Okay? But this was definitely broken. But, I'm expecting this corrected in real-time trading hours. Put a nice tail in this. Let's see. You have a little fingerprints here right in the middle of the session. Okay? And your most traded price of the week, that is 64.06. 64.06. That's right here. All right. And you can see this is last week's highs. So there's still this little gap that you have going on right now. It's a very small gap. Prices here. This is the range of Friday. So now what do you have in this profile? You have a very incomplete profile to the downside. See this? How this looks? It's very incomplete. Right? That needs usually correcting. This needs to have some excess put in. I would assume we're going to fill this gap. So your gap fills 64.31. 64.31. You can see the majority of the trading overnight was all up here, and now the market pushed down lower, right? Giving back those gains. So your key levels, obviously your gap fill. Another key level is your most traded price of Friday. high up in the range. That's pretty bullish. Right at the close, that's where the most traded price was. Okay, so if I'm going to mark some levels here, all right, we're going to mark this level right here. That is Friday's highs, last week's highs. That's the gap fill. Okay, that is also the most traded price in the close of Friday. And right underneath us is going to be those singles. So this is the place to defend. All right, that is your place to defend. Okay, then you have demand down here, demand zone. This lines up perfectly with our overnight lows, which happen to be has a poor low. Okay, that encompasses, because I'm all about confluence. Okay, what does this encompass? Value area low from Friday, poor low, and the overnight low. I'm sorry, Friday's lows, the most traded price of the weekend demand. So that's again defense for the bulls. Defense for the bulls. Okay. Now we do have supply up in here. Okay, we do have supply. So your overnight high is 64.57 and a half. You have a supply zone here, the majority of the volume, and then you push lower, right? The body of the majority of the volume, and you push lower. Okay, so we're going to break out this profile so we can see price action. Okay, so we can see the price action. There's your price action for the overnight. Okay, we're going to get right into scenarios. Alrighty, here we go. All right, so prices here. See, consolidating, right? Consolidating. I would expect a little tail. Okay, so if I want to go long, I'm going to expect a little push down, correct this. Could happen in the real-time trading hours, could happen in the overnight prior to the open. You hit in gap fill, right? You can just tap that and start to move up, right? Seek out the overnight highs. Now remember, this is overnight activity. Usually overnight highs are not secure because RTH highs are usually going to be the highs. Okay, that would be perfect. If you want to get imperfect, you go back into the range, tap the most traded price right here, catch a bid, go up. Also, I would even accept a little bear trap here. You tap those single prints, recover, reclaim the most traded price, and go higher. Okay, those are probably the most attractive setups. Okay, internals obviously have to support that. Now, if we really quickly do one of these, and the market isn't that weak, this is another buy point. You could tap off that most traded price of the week and try to go higher. Okay, that's what I'm looking for defense. Underneath here, I don't want to see the market underneath here. That's going to make me not be so bullish. Can you get along down there? Yes. But we're not going to talk about those because those are less probable. Okay, so moving on to the short. All right, we all know this market's frothy, but momentum is on the sides of the bulls. Okay, momentum's on the side of the bulls, and we're in July. Okay, the last day of the month of trading this month is Thursday. Okay, August, September is a different story. That's more bearish seasonality wise. Okay, so if I'm even thinking of a short, what do you want to see? Okay, well, I'm going to want to be up in this area. So if the market does do what I say, and whoop, and let's say the market isn't that strong, it's just taking care of this liquidity, right? And you make the new highs. Well, let's say you get some lower highs, right? You could possibly go back down, right? Go back to the gap, go back to Friday's highs, last week's highs, and try to test that most traded price of the week. I'm sorry, the most traded price of Friday. If you take that out, you'll take that out and go to the next level, right? And probably test the most traded price of the week, 64.06. Now, if you're really going to get cooking, internals weakening, you can break this level and start to hold. You have demand here. I don't expect it to be easy. And you could take out here. Possibly test this 63.75 demand. I don't know if this happens, right? But this, if these levels break, you're going to continue to fall. Okay. Now, what also could happen? You open up, you take out, fill the gap, right? And then what do you need to do? You need to not find acceptance above the most traded price of Friday. If you lose that, like I said, I believe you go down to here. Those are my setups for the ES. Okay, that's what I'm going to be looking for. I am definitely not leaning short. Okay, right now. Okay, I'm definitely not. Moving on to the Nasdaq. Let's look at this Nasdaq together. Okay, remember the Nasdaq has a relatively weaker structure. All right, so you can just see it here right off the bat. If we're looking at the Nasdaq, big profile, like the profile doesn't even fit in here, right? Let's see if we can fit it just to see how what's going on here with that profile. Yeah, there's the whole profile. Okay, kind of balanced, but we're just going to concentrate here. All right, we're just going to concentrate here. And what you notice here is right off the bat, I noticed a balanced area here, right? It was consolidating. Didn't break out, but it broke out in the overnight on Sunday. So you have about 4 sessions of balance. Remember, this is overnight, real-time trading hours, overnight, real-time trading hours, overnight. Okay, you can see the shaded area here is real-time trading hours. The black is real-time. The lighter shading is the overnight sessions. That's why I love looking at the markets like this. Okay, really gives me structure to look at. So, gapping up, prices here. Okay, prices there. I have a very balanced profile in the overnight. Okay, very balanced profile. You have last week's highs right there. Okay, it's kind of your breakout of this little balance range. All right, now couple levels we have to pay attention to. Couple levels you have to pay attention to are your most traded price of the week. That's your 2340. 234. Let's just call it 234. Right there. Also happens to be your most traded price of Friday is right here. So Nasdaq needs to defend this level. Okay? Nasdaq needs to defend this level. Now, I don't talk about this a lot, but there's a volume POC, a VPOC, and then there's a POC. Okay? Volume point of control just means that's the largest volume at that price. Time, like the POC, based on TPOs, is the most time spent at a price. Okay? Most time spent was 23447. Okay? Volume and time don't always match up. Okay? But they both have their own little strengths. Okay? You can see the high volume node right here in the POC. But volume just ignores time. Volume ignores time, but this is time based. Okay? So what I would say here is you got your POC, your gap fill. That's your Friday highs and last week's highs, right? Even with the close, actually, let's include the close there. Okay? This is all defense for bulls. This is all defense. Okay? You do have supply. Notice the one big difference though is this profile is very complete. This auction is completed. Okay? That's how you look at a profile. Oh, okay. You got a nice low here, excess low, you got excess high, you got balance in the middle. I mean, VPOC's in the middle. It's very balanced session. Okay, very balanced. Doesn't look like it's incomplete at all. But you do have supply up here. And that encompasses overnight highs and your most traded price overnight. You got a little bit of supply here too. Okay? So this is what we're going to base. And then down here, this 233 zero, I'll call it. This bottom of this demand zone right here. That's a key support as well. But I'm really going to concentrate what we do over 234. Remember, I say in the beginning, I use the most traded prices to find structure. So this is my structure. But above this, I want to be bullish. Above this. Okay? Remember, price is right here. So let's start scenarios. Why is it not giving me? Let me do that. Oh, here we go. Boom. There's your price action from the overnights. Okay, and there's your price action. So now we're going to get right into scenarios here. I'm not sure if Documents is here. He's an NQ trader. But we'll check it out. Let's do it. All right, start with the bull side. Price is here. Okay, price is here. So what I could see happen, go up, hit supply, break the overnight lows, fill the gap. Here's your first shot. What do we do in here? Fill the gap. Do we get some higher lows and start to move up into the supply? Try to make new all-time highs. Okay, try to make new all-time highs. Fall a little deeper into that, right? You can hit the close, the POC, right? And also bounce. Those are two viable ones. Now, your last line for a bull, I would say, is your 234. Now, to me, I need to see a quick move. Quick. I don't want the market to get too weak. And then see what we do with this level. It could be perfect. It could fool you. Go like this, reclaim, and you just want to be long above it. Okay? It's really all I'm looking at as far as longs. Shorts. Okay, got supply in here. We can get rise right up in here. Here's the most traded price at overnight and supply. You fail there, you're going to hit the overnight lows. You're going to fill that gap. Okay, next move, close of Friday, and then the big level 234. That could be it for that trade. That might be your trade. However, if you break this and find acceptance underneath this level, can't get over it, retest it, you're going to fall and test this area. You're going to come down and maybe hit around this 233. Okay. The other move could be break this supply, try, make wick, make a new all-time high, get your lower highs and fall. Hit the overnight lows and maybe that's it to right there. It's kind of all I'm looking for, right? Because what's going to drive that is the market internals. How weak are we? What's driving the market? Right now, momentum's on the bull side, unless there's something glaring, right? Unless there's something glaring. That's it, folks. That is it for me today. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Please smash the like button if you did enjoy that analysis. All right, and as always, you can join me every morning. Subscribe, set an alert, give you the market story, the news, the economic calendar, even the earnings calendar, and a lot of technical analysis, which I just gave you. And remember, I shared the expected move indicator in the chat. All right, I'm also going to I'm going to go back and re-edit that indicator for the stream. All right, and then I'll also add it to my Discord. All right, and if you want to see me live today, all right, give live commentary and of course use me as an indicator, go to my Discord, Confluence Trading, go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, sign up. You'll see the indicator there as well. But more importantly, you'll join the community. More importantly, if you go live and I go live with me, you can hear my commentary and be on the right side of the markets. Okay, you don't have to trade like me, but use me as an indicator. I will never steal you wrong using those market internals. All right, using those market internals. Okay, that is it for me, folks. Everybody have a great day. If I don't see you on my Discord, I'll see you tomorrow morning.